Hello, my friends. My name is Gerdes. I'm just a professor providing context in the war in Ukraine. It is November 22nd, 2024, and this is your daily brief. So I was shocked when I looked at the news today. There's something pretty significant here. I'll get to the general that was killed and the North Korean general that was injured in just a moment. But before that, I was shocked by this. Only 1,050 Russians off the battlefield. Now that's bizarre to say, only 1,000, because it's only like 700 and change. That's the average daily casualties in Ukraine. But uh, it's been into 14, 15, 16, 17, and upwards, 1,700 or so could be a daily casualty number that would have been fairly recent, like within the last week, and it's down to 1,050. So the temperature has dropped significantly just in the last 24 hours on the battlefield. One tank, 13 armored fighting vehicles, 5 artillery systems, 32 vehicles and fuel tanks. So something is different there, and we're focused on like the ICBM that Russia launched at Ukraine and the Storm Shadows that Ukraine has been launching into Russia. So and you know, Greg Terry pointed this out yesterday. I was just texting him about something else, and he said, "Yeah, well, you know, they're wigging out about hitting into Russian territory, but if Crimea is actually Russia, they've been hitting into Crimea for a year. Why aren't they wigging out of that? Unless they don't believe that Crimea actually is Russia." And that was such an interesting perspective. I got to give him credit for that. Okay, let's keep going. Andrew Perpetua, his list is about 4-1 or so, maybe 3.5-1, 4-1, something like that. So it was a good day as far as that tabulation goes, but it's also a little bit smaller than what you've seen in the last few days. Here's the British intelligence update, and I'm going to do this intentionally because I'm going to focus a lot on drones because there's a lot to talk about with drones. Over the last 1,000 days in the conflict, Russia's aerospace forces, despite technological and numerical advantage, have failed to gain air superiority over Ukraine. That's true. What the Russians actually do is they bomb from a distance and then get away before they can get tagged by anti-aircraft kind of thing. Like, so they'll do the glide bombs and they'll be just far enough away where they can't get tagged, but they don't have air superiority in any meaningful way over Ukraine. So that's a good insight here. Russia has resorted to using their tactical level aviation, such as Su-34 aircraft, as airborne artillery. Yeah, that's right. That's what they've been reduced to. This is the second army in the world, and that's where they are. The major development, which has changed the nature of the conflict, has been the use of uncrewed aerial vehicles, or UAVs. Since mid-2024, the number of one-way attack UAV launches has likely allowed Russia the space and time to recuperate its long-range aviation fleet and their associated air-launched cruise missile and air-launched ballistic missile stocks. While Russia retains the ability to use these assets, the ultimate effect is that the air defense picture for Ukraine is increasingly busy, complex, and challenging. With this combination of systems, the Russians have constantly targeted Ukrainian critical national infrastructure. That's think about the electrical grid and air bases. Future strikes against Ukrainian CNI are expected this winter as Russia attempts to break the will of the Ukrainian people. Now, Ukraine has successfully used UAVs against military targets in Russia. In mid and late September, Ukraine struck 4 Russian strategic ammunition depots hundreds of kilometers from Ukraine. The total tonnage of ammunition destroyed across the sites represents the largest loss of Russian and North Korean supplied ammunition during the war. So Ukraine has been using these UAVs to strike back in a meaningful way. And so Ukraine's drones have been a powerful counterbalance to really not having the resources. If like necessity is the mother of invention, um, Mother Necessity seems like she was born in Ukraine. I mean, it's pretty, and it's so clever what they've been able to do. It's astonishing. Meanwhile, Russian forces have been doing things like they normally do, striking a residential area in the Ukrainian city of Sumy. 2 people killed, 12 injured. They just keep doing these kinds of things. Anton Gerashenko posted this: instead of 1,000 words, kindergarten kids in a Kyiv subway during an air raid alert. How about that? as if school wasn't painful enough when you were in like third grade. Now you have to go down into a subway. Um, Today's session of the Verkhovna Rada has been canceled. MPs were warned of a potential Russian strike on the government quarter. So, okay, they keep, I mean, but here's Krasnodar, Russia, on the receiving end of karma following Russia's attack on Ukraine yesterday. They're trading these kinds of hits back and forth, and there's a number of these. I'm not cataloging all of these extensively. I'm just kind of giving you a sense of what's going on here because I want to get to this. So yesterday we were talking about the Storm Shadow strike. They used the attackums one day, then they used Storm Shadows the next, and I said yesterday, we don't know exactly what they hit. We're going to find out. It'll just be a little bit and we'll find out what happened. Okay, so Storm Shadow strikes, kills Russian general in Kursk Oblast. Kills another Russian general. Wow. November 20 strike on Marinenko reportedly killed 18, including Lieutenant General Solachuk, and injured 33, including North Korean officials. Now, that would be the 9th general. There's actually a Wikipedia page about this, list of Russian generals killed during the invasion. Major general, major general. This one is claimed, but so not actually confirmed. Major general, lieutenant general, major general, right? So there's 8 of these guys that have been confirmed. This would now be the 9th Russian general since the war began. And the 8th was only a few weeks ago, back in early November. And the interesting is, like, the U.S. has lost 1 general in a combat zone since 1970. Think about that comparison. Okay. High-ranking North Korean general was reportedly injured in recent strike in Russia's Kursk region, according to the Wall Street Journal. This marks the first time Western sources have confirmed the injury of a senior North Korean military official. I was just talking about this guy yesterday. Yesterday or the day before, I don't remember. Colonel General Kim Yong-bok. And he's like a bigwig in North Korea. He's like an aide to Kim Jong-un. Like, he's like in the top 10 of these guys out there. And yeah, so that's what happened to him. North Korean general was wounded in a strike near Russia's Kursk region. Yeah, same thing. And it was in this strike with Storm Shadows. Okay, I told you we'd find out what was going on with that. Russia's escalation is not a sign of strength at all, quite the opposite. Now, he's going to go on and say Russia needs to finish the war because of these other things. Don't worry about that. But Russia's escalation is not a sign of strength. Like, they got it all backwards. They think, like, if I just show I can lob this ICBM into Ukrainian territory, they'll back up. Don't think. See, it's almost like the misunderstanding of how things work, where you think, you know what, if we just had a 99% voting turnout rate and 98% of the population voted for us, they'd think we really won. No, we think you stuffed the ballots. That's different. It's like that they have the wrong mentality. Okay, Governor Gladkov, meanwhile, in Belgorod, is telling his people, to 1.5 million residents, to prepare for winter without access to heat or electricity. That's what they expect is coming. That's pretty shocking. Meanwhile, the UK considers repurposing retired military equipment for Ukraine. Defense Secretary John Healey revealed in Parliament that the UK is exploring options to send decommissioned assets like Northumberland and Watchkeeper drones to Ukraine. So that's a good thing. Here are some of the drones. I was talking about ground drones yesterday, and but there's more to it. Like, these drones can do all kinds of things. We're talking about, like, dropping mines in front of tanks. I've seen videos of that happening, but I don't know what this guy is doing. This little, like, rocket propelled grenade drone thing, I don't want to get in the way of whatever that is. Okay, to give you some sense of the size and scope of some of these drones, that's a dog next to that drone. This is a T-150 drone, and I think that could probably do a lot of damage or carry a lot of damage or whatever. These are drones being brought into the dark at night to be launched to go where they're going. I'm not going to show you any of the explosions that are going to follow later on. I'm just going to show you the kind of the setup, so you can see, like, this is what these guys are doing, going through, driving into or getting into the position, setting things up, and launching their drones. pretty amazing what these guys can do, or how, putting everything together, putting their warheads on, whatever, getting ready to launch. And the amount of damage that these things are going to do. Now, that's the release mechanism. And I'm not going to show you what the booms are there, but we can show you a little bit of this because there's no explosions here. Just as the drone is kind of zeroing in on its target and figuring out where it's going to go, and yeah, you get the idea. It's about to, yeah. Okay. Um, Andrew Perpetua posted this, and I thought, wow, like, yeah, you just can't fool with this. I saw a Russian reach out and grab a drone with both hands. Not a good idea. Don't recommend. Long story short, now no fingers. Yep, that's where it is. Okay, yesterday I did not talk about Jake Bro's fundraiser. I just was covering other stuff, and I just couldn't include it in the short time that I had. But the last time I talked about it, they were at about a $500,000. And when we look at it today, I skipped a day. I skipped 24 hours. Well, no, I skipped a little bit more. Was it more or less? I didn't really. I skipped a day. It's now up to $652,000. And sure, I mean, this is like day four or not quite day five. So he's about on track for another $1 million campaign in about a week, maybe a little over a week. That's pretty impressive. So good on Jake for doing that. Darth Putin, it's late 2006. For 3 years, the U.S. military has been stuck in Iraq. 700,000 U.S. soldiers are dead or maimed. Iran supplies Iraq with weapons. George W. Bush fires and hits Veterans Hospital in Fallujah with an ICBM. Anti-imperialists call on Saddam to negotiate and Iran to end weapon supplies. Now, that's all fictitious, and none of that was even remotely close. But this is like pretty clear approximation to what's actually happening. The U.S. didn't lose anything near this kind of number, right? Iran never supplied Iraq. Like, this is all made up, but it actually helps us understand the weird place where Russia is right now when you put it in that jarring context. There's nothing like that. Wow. Okay. Ready for the fight. Last little image I want to leave you with. Yeah, drones are pretty significant, and they're the game changer on the battlefield. All right, my friends, that's all that I have for you today. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.